Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said,
This Turning Point conference, these were in the front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs.
Every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican speak up against these, because against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You
mouth.
let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to.
Rogan tore through the circus like a chainsaw at a puppet show. Under the guise of a discussion program, he set his sights on The View, America's favorite group chat, gone completely off the rails. And this wasn't just sarcasm or snark, this was peak Rogan. Raw, relentless, and highly caffeinated, making boardrooms across the country reach for the thermostat. His roast was more than a joke. It was a warning, the kind that can turn cozy couches into witness stands in an instant. But what really lit the fuse? Take Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist often under fire from the media. Instead of tweeting or issuing press releases, he went all in and filed a lawsuit reportedly worth a staggering $100 million. This wasn't a small move. The fireworks reached their peak there. Kirk wasn't just sharing his opinions. He aimed to make history. And as the judicial system swung into action, Joe Rogan couldn't resist getting involved. Not as a lawyer, thank goodness, but as an observer to the chaos and spectacle unfolding.
important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest statement.
So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
Regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to...
Speaking as a representative of common sense rather than a political operative, the impact was visible from orbit. The media's playbook has been stuck in the same tired cycle for years. Toss allegations like confetti, whip up outrage, spin stories tighter than grandma's Tupperware, and act shocked when someone actually defends themselves. Kirk didn't just push back. He showed up with attorneys on speed dial and a war chest big enough to sustain a full-scale legal battle. This wasn't a Twitter slap fight or a passive-aggressive email. This was a deadly courtroom showdown. In an era when reputations vanish faster than viral videos, Kirk's countersuit wasn't just legal, it was audacious. He essentially said, you better come with bail money if you're going to play dirty. And here's where it gets delicious. At The View's old routine, gasp, moralize for 5 minutes, and roll a commercial, was powerless against a $100 million lawsuit. There was no TikTok escape, no commercial break to save them. Rogan's response was merciless. The co-host clutched pearls and spluttered as if auditioning for Downton Abbey. He didn't just shrug, he nearly burst out laughing, watching the circus unfold like a grizzly dismantling a lion act. Complete domination on live television, no competition, no nuance. Millions had been waiting for this takedown, fed up with media hypocrisy. The View has morphed from a discussion program into a broadcast group chat for coastal elites. Divergent opinions don't exist there, only performative anger disguised as conformity. Agree or disagree, the crowd is quick to silence, mock, or discredit anyone who steps out of line. Rogan's remark didn't just sting, the studio itself seemed to recoil. He didn't just poke fun at the host, he exposed the entire circus. This wasn't just another media spat, it was a cultural reset, sparked by Kirk's lawsuit, with Rogan holding the microphone directly over the wound, whether by design or instinct.
Show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies infested hen house.
And at the same time, it seemed like the most interesting part was their audience seemed to be on my side.
Yes.
And that's their audience.
Yes. Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows.
They revealed the cracks in the American media system where outrage earns more than honesty and influence money outweighs the truth. Except now, the scenery has changed. They're stranded in a PR swamp with no life raft in sight. Let's be honest, you can't laugh your way out of a $100 million lawsuit, especially when the world's most famous podcaster is mocking you. Their uneasy stillness has only deepened since. There were no sharp comebacks or fiery rebuttals, just clumsy digressions into absurdity. Meanwhile, Rogan's comments exploded online, shared, analyzed, and memed into digital immortality, bouncing from Twitter to TikTok. It wasn't just what he said, but what they didn't. Their sudden silence was louder than any rant the show had ever aired, a shock for a program built on controversy. They seemed to finally realize there are people ready and willing to push back. It begs the question, when did daytime TV become a soft propaganda tool? Behind the scenes, there's a carefully packaged anger, a screenplay of loaded questions, and a crowd coached to clap like a laugh track. Yes, delivered with teasing and laughter. Kirk read the script, Rogan shredded it, and the rest of us finally saw that our entertainment is really activism and drag, driven by ads, Nielsen ratings, and manufactured outrage. Now the script is flipped. The stakes are high. This case is more than symbolic. Before the gavel drops, careers could be ended by a $100 million claim. Skeletons are being dragged from closets, contradictions, backstage rumors, emails, recordings. ABC executives rarely see the fallout coming for their targets. Every leak, every blocked story benefits Rogan, conservatives, and independent media. This isn't just a lawsuit, it's a reckoning. Media hypocrisy has been exposed, and this quake is only the beginning of an avalanche.
Shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stop looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions: suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, whatever it is. That used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side, and if it's our side that's saying this, for sure it's the right thing to do, and no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge, and on that bridge they'll see RFK, they'll see Elon.
Other media figures, especially on the left, are now acting like cats hearing a can opener. Perhaps the days of dodging allegations like magic tricks are over. On national television, you can say something false, disparaging, or just plain rude, and suddenly you need to have your receipts ready for court. The world's Rogans are watching, memes are primed to expose mistakes, microphones are hot, and the audience is massive. So what happens when the immovable smugness of daytime TV collides with the unstoppable force of conservative legal firepower? Millions are witnessing the clash live. The View's brand of moral superiority is facing pushback, not just in court, but in the harsher court of public opinion. This isn't a show that ends with 2 commercial breaks and a quick powder touch-up. Legacy media and the audience they claim to represent are now in conflict, divided by competing narratives, clashing morals, and a dwindling pool of trust. America's most popular daytime talk show is suddenly a diva without a spotlight. Kirk's $100 million lawsuit isn't the only thing they're dodging. The entire media landscape is rewriting the rules. The View never imagined being on the defense. For years, they built their empire through virtue signaling, selective outrage, and a protective media bubble, but that balloon has finally popped. This time, a fearless podcaster and a lawyer showed up. The irony? Delicious. The hosts are now criticized simply for living in the luxury they've long discussed, pretending to be victims while refereeing a made-up game. It's always risky to mock others on live television. Someone will eventually call foul when you fabricate charges for claps and retweets. Charlie Kirk just did exactly that. Love him or hate him, it was a sharp, ruthless, and brilliant move.
Fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her.
So between ambushing Zelensky and this, why would world leaders continue to come to the White House?
Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. If you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, a lot of them are paid because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire.
This is the problem with getting all your information from Laura Loomer and Elon Musk. This is what they're going to deal you.
It's a very strange.
By raising this issue, Kirk exposed The View as less a debating platform and more a narrative nuclear weapon disguised with coffee cups. Then he pulled Joe Rogan into the fray, and suddenly the explosion was inevitable. He didn't just condemn their viewpoint, he set it ablaze. Using plain, sharp English rather than legal jargon, Rogan landed blows more cutting than any courtroom argument. His ability to hit like a heavyweight is essentially his superpower. The roast was brutally honest, but also hilarious. Rogan targeted the panel that functions more like a cafeteria clique with better lighting. The fake outrage, the bargain bin intellectualism. And because it's reality, people were glued to it. Mainstream media double standards have enraged millions, and Rogan has become their megaphone, for better or worse. The reason The View is sweating is simple. Rogan's audience is massive and pervasive. They tune in while prepping dinner, at the gym, or during their commute with earbuds. Unlike The View, he doesn't limit his takedowns to the news cycle. They ripple through culture, spreading like digital wildfire through shares, memes, and endless discussion. Suddenly, the story isn't controlled by their perspective. Flailing with spin and half-hearted deflections, they're trapped. And yes, a $100 million lawsuit is serious business. Jobs, reputations, and careers are at stake. Depositions aren't just paperwork, they're a public reckoning. Expensive hosts are grilled on national television about their remarks, their reasoning, and whether they even Googled anything before throwing names into the outrage blender. Off-air sarcasm, Slack chats, and emails all come under the spotlight of the courtroom. This isn't cleanup, it's a reckoning. And while the judicial earthquake rumbles, the media elite acts as if nothing is happening.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back.
CNN won't touch it. MSNBC dismisses it like a cheesy street magician. ABC, the proud parent of The View, is in full panic mode, dousing the fire with buckets of PR water. But Joe Rogan and the internet don't forget. The hypocrisy has already been exposed. From his sofa, Rogan laughed at the pearl clutching, showing not just disagreement, but outright disrespect. And that sting can't be blunted with the press release. Here's the memo. The View won't read. The rules have changed. When someone strikes back harder, you can't control the microphone and then play the helpless victim. You can't fire someone without consequences and then cry foul when the legal hammer drops. The game has changed, and the old gatekeepers aren't favored under the new rules. This isn't just bad TV, it's a real-life illustration of everything wrong with mainstream media: arrogance, insulation, and intoxication with moral self-righteousness. The emperor is taking a victory lap, and the set is woefully unprepared for the blowback from those who see that he's more than just a provocateur. Even if Kirk's lawsuit never reaches a courtroom, it has already won the one trial that matters: public opinion. The stance of The View appears weak, exposed, and hypocritical. Rogan threw a match, poured gasoline on the stage, and smiled as the entire set went up in flames. Zooming out, Rogan and Kirk aren't the only players. The battle for control of the American narrative is bigger than a single show. Hollywood glitterati, corporate news, and daytime TV once roamed like invincible gods, free to offend or mislead without consequence. But their opponents are no longer think tanks or politicians. They are independent voices with audiences larger than cable networks, fed up with traditional propaganda. And the harsh reality, society has moved forward, leaving them gasping in the dust. Not the lawsuit, not Rogan's derision.
I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa in the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone.
Not all of them have worked on The View set, but when no one challenged them, they established hegemony. Suddenly, their remarks echoed freely. as if they were speaking for the entire country. But now, new voices are in the room, louder, clearer, and far more convincing. Instead of adapting, they've doubled down on sanctimony and censorship. A poor choice, because every time they strike at someone like Rogan, it exposes just how fragile their grip is. Labeling Kirk dangerous for hiring lawyers only reveals their fear of accountability. Despite the floor collapsing beneath them, they still act invincible when dismissing criticism. So what next? Do they go on the attack, spinning mistakes into heroic disinformation, reinvent themselves as victims in a scripted play, or have their attorneys quietly patch the cracks and wait for the storm to pass? It doesn't matter. It's too late. The damage is done. Rogan's takedown is already legendary online, and Kirk's lawsuit has become a unifying symbol. Applause lines and ad revenue credibility can't replace what they've lost. Right now, they're not openly mourning. They're pretending nothing happened. That eerie daytime TV smile hides the silence, the lack of argument or response, but that quiet is deafening. Speaking the truth is the foundation of their profession, so being rendered speechless in the hot seat is a clear admission of defeat. Meanwhile, the same hosts who profit from viral gaffes hide behind commercial breaks and dull PR statements. The internet, as always, is doing what it does best, displaying receipts, clipping tirades, and declaring the View is unable to respond. If you're so sure you're right, why are you so afraid to speak?
So when Tulsi Gabbard got on to defend herself and Joy Behar starts panicking and going over her notes while Tulsi is refuting everything that she said.
Yeah, I mean, Joy Behar, like, again, these people have dementia. These are people who, like, should not be allowed out of the house. They have a national platform. I mean, it is crazy. They have no idea. These people have never read, like, a book.
And there's versions.
Your script lays bare the shifting balance of cultural authority, where figures like Joe Rogan don't just lampoon institutions, they expose their fragility. His remarks weren't designed as polite satire, but as an outright indictment, casting media elites as bloated hypocrites thriving on outrage economies. That collective online laughter wasn't merely amusement, it was a communal recognition that the emperor has no clothes. When Rogan, armed only with a mic and a perspective, destabilizes media structures built over decades, it underscores how brittle those institutions have become in the face of unfiltered voices. The lawsuits and controversies surrounding figures like Charlie Kirk serve as accelerants, forcing the establishment to reckon with accountability mechanisms they once wielded against others. For years, legacy media and their panelists enjoyed a monopoly on moral judgment, deploying ridicule and selective outrage as weapons with little fear of retaliation. Now, however, audiences are rejecting the manufactured authenticity of makeup, scripted applause, and sanctimonious monologues. Trust has eroded so deeply that networks, hosts, and pundits are seen less as truth tellers and more as relics clinging to relevance. The gloves-off atmosphere signals not just a cultural fight, but a revolution in legitimacy, the realization that influence no longer belongs exclusively to broadcast towers and boardrooms. Instead, power flows toward independent creators who can dismantle narratives in real time, amplifying dissent without institutional permission. As the one-way culture of outrage collapses, the question shifts from whether the system will break to who will strike the next blow against it. This isn't just entertainment, it's the reordering of authority in the information age.